Hi everyone. Today I'd like to talk to you about a topic called Diastisis Recti, also known as DRAM, D-R-A-M. What this is abdominal separation. So your abdominal six-pack starts from the outside of your tummy and leads through the center line, which connects to a connective tissue called linea alba. Now in pregnancy, especially around the third trimester, it is natural for it to start to separate to accommodate for your growing baby. But what you want to do is to avoid it from overly separating, becoming wider than what is necessary. So today I will be going over 4 points that you can do to avoid it from overly separating, which leads to what is called diastasis recti. Number 1 on today's list is, number 1, sit-up motions. And I will put all of the 4 points in the description below. Number 1, sit-up motions. What might be common is you can notice this when you wake up. To wake up in what is seen as a push-up type of motion, where you're putting a lot of pressure to your midline. As you put that pressure and you're leaning forward, you might see a doming shape to your center line. A doming shape, kind of like a Toblerone, a triangular shape to your midline. When you see or feel this, it means that you're putting too much pressure to your abdominal wall. So the first thing to avoid is any sit-up type of motions. Number 2 is heavy lifting. Now there's no exact number of weight that you can or cannot lift up, but of course avoid something that is obviously heavy to lift. When you're lifting something and you might feel, again, a compression or a doming shape to your midline, it means that you're putting too much pressure. So put that aside, don't pick it up, it's too heavy. Which concludes number 2 of heavy lifting. Number 3 is posture. This is where I will get up to demonstrate. The first posture that you want to avoid is leaning forward, overly leaning forward. So you have your center line. Sometimes you can see it through your shirts. They have the stitching to the side, and your pant might have the stitching as well. You can do it in front of a mirror to see. So the first one, you're leaning forward, overly leaning forward. It might create a kind of like a pulling sensation where you're putting too much pressure once again. And another thing that you really want to avoid during pregnancy is overly bending your back, going into the back bends, because that might go and lead into diastasis recti. Number 2 is overly leaning back. You might also start to curve your upper body or bring your hands more towards your tummy. As you lean back, if I put my hands aside, you'll see that once again I'm out-centered from the midline. One thing that you can practice is called pelvic tilts. So if you're leaning back, notice your pelvis, pelvic tilt, going in and up. Again, you're tucking your pelvis in and lengthening upward. You can see how it realigned the posture. Going through the front view, I'm leaning back, going in and up. Another way to see if you're aligned is by having your ribs stacked above your hips. So I'm leaning back, here are my ribs, going through the center. Where are my hips? It's not above. Pelvic tilt. Okay, now my ribs are above my hips. Leaning forward. Again, out of being through the center line. My ribs are here. My hips are way in the front. They're not on top of each other. Realigning your body. Number 4 is to avoid constipation. Now, this can be something that is common in pregnancy, but with regular movements and regular exercises and taking in lots of fluids, you want to avoid having that push, which will put a lot of compression, and you want to avoid. So try to avoid always going into constipation by keeping regular exercises, going for walks, and drinking your water and fluids. I hope these 4 points will help you to avoid overly widening your abdominal muscles, to also avoid diastasis recti. Have a good day, everyone. Namaste.